G'day guys, welcome back of course to the Time Bomb channel, and I hope that all is good in your part of the world. Just a quick note to start with today, just wanted to say massive thanks to all our subscribers. Thank you so much for your continued support. I hope these reviews continue to be useful and insightful for you. Today we are looking at a smartwatch. Yikes, biff, bah, bosh, holy underwear Batman, yes, but it's a G-Shock, right? Inside the box today we've got the shiny new GBD H2000, so let's just unbox while I'm jawing away here. Find the right blade. This baby then is the upgraded version of the GBD H1000. Sorry, this is going to make a right noise, so I'm going to pause there. Yeah, that's better, just these things get a little noisy. So as I say, it's the upgraded version of the GBD H1000 that it itself has built up quite a solid fan base since its launch a few years ago. Now, just on another note, I'm traveling for work for a few days, so this is going to be a swift-ish review. And I'll follow up with a bigger review of everything else in due course. But anyway, let's get this box open, and inside, what have we got? Are we ready for the grand reveal? Exciting moments here on the Time Bomb channel. Curious sort of bag here. Mwah. Okay guys, there it is, the the H2000. Yes, and just check out those colors. And I think the H on the H2000 stands for hot, because my God, this thing is so damn hot. Now, allegedly, there are some very, very grumpy goblins out there who are having their bile harvested to produce the pigment for the straps. So do beware if you meet one of them in the street whilst wearing this. And those raspberry pink accents on the dial, and the here as well, the straps, etc. Very, very 1980s color combination of lime and raspberry. These do, of course, come in more subtle colorways, as you can see here. And I know that when I chose this version, I chose it specifically for those leery aesthetics. But I do have a couple of questions around the software, so I'll try to balance my preconceptions as we get into the review. Let me just pause there and draw in a little bit. So, as some of you may be aware, there were complaints aplenty about the H1000 being simply too large and too heavy for most wrists, or should we call them, the average wrist size. And also then apparently with that watch, I've not owned it myself, that the app links weren't really that great. So as a consequence, Casio dutifully listened to their detractors, and they have updated or shrunk the H2000 accordingly. Just before I get into that, just show you what else you get in the box. Okay, so obviously details around your modules, instructions, warranties, and then also in here we have our additional charging power cable. I'll come into that a little bit more later on, but let's just get it out of the bag so that we can see it when we need to. Avoid all the plastic rustlings, which bug me so much. Get out the bloody bag. All right, there we go. So, all good to go. Let's just do the necessary on here as well, and let's get into our watch for today. So, as I say, they've shrunk the H2000 in comparison to the H1000, and the first massive noticeable shrinkage is by weight, or in weight. This one is now 38% lighter than its predecessor. This one then only weighing 68 grams as opposed to the 101 grams of the H1000. The profile has also changed a little bit. It's actually a fraction longer north to south at 59.5 as opposed to the 54, but I think that is just primarily due to the change in the articulations that you can see there. It's also now 52.5 across, as opposed to the much 2.5 mils wider at 55 on the H1000. And then this one then is only 19 mils deep as opposed to the 20 mils on its predecessor. And already, if you start looking at reviews, there are some people saying that this is now a child-size watch. So yeah, it's kind of difficult to please everyone. Other aspects that have also shrunk on this one, and I shall pop up a close-up there so you can see it a little bit better. The solar panel containing the solar cells around the dial there is also smaller. The GPS antenna on the 1000 was actually incorporated within the bezel. It's now a sensor inside the watch. Open up the back here. Then of course we have a new carbon reinforced case back, carbon resin reinforced case back, whereas on the 1000s it had a steel disc here. That case back to me looks very, very, very clean and classy and resistant to most of your bodily fluids. No issues there at all. We're wearing that one in the gym or the swimming pool or wherever you're going to be wearing it. In addition to which, the rechargeable battery on the inside is also smaller, which again will be reducing everything on the inside there. The strappage that we've got on here is apparently even softer and more flexible as well. It's still, I mean, it's not, I was expecting this to be much softer, but it's certainly on the outside, but there's no stretch in it whatsoever. So again, not completely what I was expecting, and I'm pleased that it is like this. Again, no issues with that one whatsoever. The other advantage on this strap as well is that it will allow, let me just throw it on wrist while I'm explaining that, it will allow you to cinch the watch closer to your wrist bones, and thus the sensors are more in contact, in connection with your vitals, that it'll read obviously through your wrist. I've got it very tight there, but my wrist is 7.25 inch, just for reference. And yeah, you can see you've got plenty, so this is going to fit some very large wrists as well. Let me just get rid of those hang tags so that yeah, I can just faff around a little better with this one. All right, and obviously this one then, there's the 1A9ER EU variant there. Just talking about the strap, it also reminded me that apparently the resin on these now is made of corn-based biomass plastics. Complete confession, very sorry guys, I've absolutely no idea what that is. It does question, I think, a little bit whether that's virtue signaling or whether there is indeed a real impact benefit to using those corn-based biomass plastics. Casio themselves clearly work with a lot of steel and plastics. They're going to have, you know, quite a large footprint, excuse me. So again, whether that's actually, you know, having an impact or it's virtue signaling or not, if you've got a better understanding of that, please do feel free to drop us a comment down below. What stays the same on these ones in comparison again to the H1000s is obviously it's still 200 meters worth of watery goodness. As you can just see here on screen, the MIPS display, goddamn love it. It is hands down the best negative display out there on any digital wristwatch of any description, in my humble opinion. The thing is bloody brilliant. It doesn't matter where you've got it, direct light, reflections, etc. It's fantastic. And it does sit under mineral glass, I believe, also. As you'd expect to see with these things, you've got everything from your Bluetooth, sunrise, so where's my, make sure that I'm pressing the right buttons here. No. Great, I need to read the modules. Yeah, clearly as it's fresh out of the box, and in my entirely professional approach to these things, I neglected to action things accordingly. God damn it, you just can't get the quality these days. There we go. So there's my mode button that I wanted to run through. As I say, I will need to set this up accordingly just to get everything out of the way, because yeah, fresh out of the box, yeah, it's going to need a little bit of work. Yeah, as I say, so you've got sunrise, world times, flight mode, heart rate, and a whole heap more. So yeah, you're certainly not lacking for functionality within this watch. The other thing I was just noticing there as I was touching things was that you can see you've got this slight half moon button here as well, which I think might contribute as well to the space required on that. Another standout that I just picked up there was that you can see great fingerprint detailing on your buttons here, slightly different to the previous models also. Again, just overview, you've got some lovely lumps on this one, exactly where you'd want to see them, I think, as well. So yeah, uber resilient, shock resistant. These lumpages around here are going to be protecting that crystal as well, that mineral crystal as well, from most of your average knocks. I think while I'm talking about those functions, I think one of the other criticisms of the H1000 is that it was primarily oriented at runners due to its limited sport monitoring function. This one now has multiple sports due to that added gyroscope inside, which is going to allow for tracking of swimming, cycling, workouts, etc. Further, with the added Polar Tech sensors and software inside, the heart rate monitoring should be vastly improved on these things in comparison to the previous one. Again, I will attempt to test that in time. You've got 6 sensors now in total, which obviously then include your barometer, altimeter, yada, yada, yada. Quite similar to some of those that you'll find in the Mudmaster and the Rangemaster. I'm talking of the Rangeman. Talking of the Rangeman, there are rumors of a new Rangeman coming out later this year. Is it the 9500 over the 9400? So yeah, let's see what we get there. I'll pop up a dark shot here, because obviously we can't see the light. In the bright lights here, it's now extended up to 5 seconds over the 3 seconds, which again will be a handy step forward. And as I was referencing before, so clearly a solar power, but you then do have the option of linking this onto the back to then charge via USB. And clearly, I mean, I think if you're going to be using any or all of those functions on this watch on a regular basis, you've got your heart rate monitor on all day long, your Bluetooth, things like that. I think this is going to become vital because yeah, it's just you're going to need that extra juice to support all of those functions. Another thing that I'm picking up on here as I go through this first few, and I'm wondering if those hex screws as well will allow for strap swappage should this softy snap, or alternatively you want to tone down that goblin bile to something a little bit more subtle. Again, so yeah, we'll see what happens when people start changing around with those things here. Another thing that you can see as well is that this is comprised of what they call their dual frame case body. So essentially you've got your top slice there, which is anchored into that bottom plate. Again, very interesting design brief in comparison to some of the other G-Shock case body designs. On a note then, of course, if you're in the market for a slightly cheaper model or simpler model, at the Casio outlet here in the UK, the baby cousin, which is the GBD 100, is on sale for a brilliant half price. So again, giving you some alternative options there. As I said, I'm traveling for work for the next week or so, so I'm going to take this with me and then get some shots while I'm using it overseas. I want to be able to, first familiarize myself much better with the functionality of the watch, which buttons do what. And then secondly as well, just sort of feedback on how I'm finding usage on a daily basis. I think in conclusion then, from this first introductory view, it may sound a little bit harsh, but I think if you still want that truer sports watch tracker, then the Garmin's, etc. might be winning. I used to own the Garmin Tactics Delta, and that was way more advanced than this one. But admittedly, yes, I've yet to use this one properly. So again, it's a little bit precipitated. Another reason I think is that some of the commentary as well is that the modules themselves are not as intuitive or effective. And by that, I mean that the apps that Casio generally put out to go with their watches are simply not as good as others. I'll put a link up to my review of the GBD 200 here, and the main reason that I sold it was that the app was garbage. It just couldn't work. Having said that, on the Gravity Master that I reviewed a month or two ago, the app on that one was perfect. So again, it can be a little bit hit and miss. Casio makes superb watches, and I'm always going to be buying them, but something does need to change, I think, with their smart app reliability and utility. If you're like me and you're a G-Shock obsessive, I think you're going to appreciate this one as a stunner, an absolute stunner to look at. I mean, just look at it. It's freaking gorgeous. It's grotesque, but gorgeous at the same time. Again, you've got those milder versions of these things. Should you not want to look like this, a goblin. I think it's going to be superb to wear, and it's got that digi-display on here, those MIPS display that it gives you goosebumps to look at if you've been dealing with other digis throughout your life. But over to you guys. What do you reckon? Do the aesthetics of this thing win over the functionality? Would really appreciate your thoughts if you've had this one already and you've been using it for a couple of days, what you think, or you're an H1000 user and you're considering the upgrade to the newer version. Again, it'd be great to hear your thoughts. Thanks as always for your time and for your view. Apologies if this one's been a little bit rushed, etc. But of course, until the next vid, when I get back from travels, I'll give you some updates on this one. Thanks as always for your time and for your view. Look forward to seeing you again soon. Cheers, guys.